Right, here we are. We're going to do, this is going to be the connection rod. Yeah, connection rod here. So let's do this. Idle bearing's a dimension only assignment for you guys. Connection rod. Let me just go through the assignment here. That's what we're going to draw. It's actually an automotive part. A Just a single piece out of an automotive. So a few more parts that would hook that to a piston in a car. Not necessarily don't need to know that, but it's a connection rod. Let's see, or complete this. We're going to do it's an inch template. We'll just see which is going to fit best. I think I put mine on a B size sheet. Um, I can't remember what scale I ended up with, but we'll take a look. And I do need a section, and we'll explore why that once we start drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this PDF and have it up. Let's see, got mine somewhere. Go to it here. Let's see, week 8. This is yeah. So connection rod. Yeah, so maybe I'll talk through this real quick. Um, I'm going to Yeah, I think I left this like yeah. I mean it's coming from engineering, right? So we've got some dimensions on the part. That's all right. We're gonna fix this up when we do our own drawing. And it's just got hopefully has all the information we need. There might be a couple little secrets to getting this one maybe drawn right and some of the shaping of it, but uh I'm just gonna catch, the part envelope there, the box that it'll fit in. So there could be an argument here, like if I considered the most stable part position, it might be opposite of what this is. Um, this one in its isometric view kind of leans me towards picking um, these surfaces as my front view. Maybe this would be my right side view looking dead on this radius, and then top view would be top down looking here on this surface would be top view. And I'm going to draw that way. It's arguable that's obviously not a stable part position. It'll tip over that way, and it's just not. It's wider, or I should say that the height is different on this end than this end. Um, and so it's definitely arguable that if I laid this down on either front or back side in this orientation that it's showing, so this would be front side and back up. If I laid it down on those sides, they would be stable because I think it's the same, kind of the same depth here on this end versus this end. So let me just double check that for sure. This is the part width here, depth, I guess. Am I given that? Jeez, did I miss? Is this missing a dimension? Well, we'll explore that, but I was kind of looking to see if it lays down and it's 1 inch deep here. If I'm considering that that is the top view depth is 1 inch. I was thinking it's the same back here, but I was thinking there was a dimension that shows it, and I could be missing it just by me looking. I've got diameters, but I thought there would be another dimension across here. A half inch here. Nobody's yelled at me yet this week to see if I say yell at me. You guys are yelling at me, but nobody's informed me that they were missing a dimension here, maybe, and so maybe I'm just missing something as I'm looking over the part envelope size, but um, and how deep this would be. It actually ends up being the same. I'm pretty sure I've drawn this one before, and so I'm trying to remember. I do think it's the same depth on the right side as it is on the left side. It's funny that I feel like I'm kind of missing that, and maybe I'm just missing it, but it is the same. And so technically, it would be a stable part um, if I laid it down, and if those dimensions were the same. It wouldn't be stable if obviously if the left side depth here and the right side depth here and left side depth here, that those wouldn't be this if those weren't the same, it wouldn't be stable to lay it over that way, and then there would really be no stability of this part other than maybe standing it up on its end and surface. So this one kind of breaks the orient this one to me, this I kind of break the rule due to like the clarity that I can get out of the front view. To me it falls into the To me, there's just a few object shapes that I kind of break that stability rule. But I say in some industries, they may evaluate that difference. Um, so we're going to proceed with caution. We're new drafters anyway, so we're not going to totally worry about that. Let's just see if we can get the orthographic projections with our section view, and I recognize why we need a section, and uh, and get that figured out. So I'm going to proceed with this as my front view. This would be right side and top down. So I'm just going to proceed that way. So I'm going to call this 6.5 inches across the width. So 6.5, and then this outer radius is or diameter is 1.25. So what I would need to maybe know is from the radius out to the outside edge, just to capture the full part width is 6.5 plus that radius. So if I don't know what that is, I can just jump up here. A 1.25 radius is going to be what, 5/8, I guess. But you would say it's 1.25, the diameter on that left end from where I'm drawing. And so if I divide that by 2, yeah, 5/8. If I add that to 6.5 overall, I would get that my part envelope needs to be, or my part width is 7.125. 7.125 by more than 3 inches tall. I have this dimension here that's 3 plus, again, some radius dimensions here. And this would be the outer radius. I'm just going to make sure which one's pointing at which. I could zoom this in, make this a little bit bigger. 3 inches plus from here to here is this radius of a 1/4 inch. So another half inch. So 3.5. I feel like my front view will be 7.125 by 3.5. I can draw that, and then we'll take a look at the top depth, but I think it's 1 inch. So we can kind of draw both of those. I'll go over to CAD. I'm going to use my inch template. I think I'm going to just open up my inch template with just the B size sheet for this. I think so. Should be this one. This looks correct. There's my B size sheet. So let's go ahead and lay this thing out here. Zoom in a little bit, maybe. What did I say? 7.125 and 3.5. That's maybe what I have. Make sure I put that in there right. 7.125 by 3.5. I still have I'm just double checking. Yep, 7.125 by 3.5. I'm gonna move that up into this quadrant. Not that I couldn't just have proceeded there, but I'll just move it up. See, that's kind of my habit. I'm not too worried about how far away this. I know I'm coming away a little ways. So definitely 7.125 again. Oh, I didn't get my width in there. Let me just redo that or resize it. I'll do that. 7.125 by, I think, 1 inch. 1 inch is, I think, our overall depth of top view like that. It's just that maybe it's not clear that those two are the same depth. I wish maybe where it's on the one end. I just feel like it's just a little bit ambiguous if this is 1 inch. It is though. I know it is. So and maybe everybody's just proceeded where they see this dimension, they've just used it. So that's all right. And then if I made a right side view, um, and I think I'll proceed here as if I don't know for sure. And but my right, yeah, so I'll draw my right side view and let's do that. That in. These are an orthographic alignment. Look good. All right, so this thing should be 3.5 by 1. I like it. So let's start with some details here of the front view. Might have to do some more construction work. I'm not sure. Not sure if it's gonna be. Yeah, this is one that could be a good candidate to. I don't know if I'm gonna draw half of it in mirror across the front view. I could do that potentially, or maybe that doesn't. Yeah, I mean maybe not, but let's see what I can put in. I'm going to at least put in my circles on the end. I think I've got these two circles that are kind of the main, and they are in like their axis are aligned. I know this doesn't quite look like it is. I would have maybe carried this through to the center line here, but center of this is lined up with the center of this. I wish I would have pulled these maybe across. Maybe it would have been a little bit more busy work and move some of the dimensions off the object if I was really doing it's like the engineer's done a real quick half job and thrown it to us and said, you guys can figure it out. That's all it needs to be, or something. So yeah, a 1 inch and an inch and a quarter diameter here. So I think I'll put those in. On the center of this part is yeah, I'm gonna build this thing across the center of my front view. So a 1 inch and so I think I'm gonna draw a center line in here. I think I'm going to use some center line mirroring and potentially just keeping track of where my center line is. From there, I'm gonna do a circle over here. It's an inch and a quarter. That's 5/8 radius. I'm just gonna move over there, and then that's that. Sorry, I'm going to make that visible in just a minute. I'm going to do my next circle, which is the inner bore, which is a 1 inch. So I'm going to move over. I think if I've got that right. Do circle radius. I want to move over half inch, I think. I want to draw this as 1 inch. I think my other one must be wrong. So this is a 1 inch diameter. Goes out to the outside. I think what's a little bit confusing here is if I just put in another, hold on. I want to know where 6.5 is from over here. I think that's kind of where, yes, I do want to go 6.5. And this line coming down and where that center line intersect, that's where the center of my hole should be. So I'm not cursoring over far enough. Is that right? 7 1/8. Oh, sorry. Maybe I'm fumbling this right off the bat. 6.5 to there, and then this should be another 5/8, 7 1/8. So from 6.5 over, yeah. Let me just move over. That one's correctly placed. Let me go the other way though. I want this one to be visible. So this first one that I snapped is in the correct place. I just need to move my 1 inch diameter circle to share the same. They are concentric there. I was just thinking they were going to be. I don't know why I was thinking it would go out to the edge, but I was wrong. So I had to come in the thickness of whatever that was, and then yeah. So this is correct. That's a good start. And then on this end, I have the other circles going on. So what have I got down here? They're half circles, and I'll cut them off where they extend outside of my boundary. But what? I've got a radius of 1 there, and I got a radius of 1.25. Okay. So I'll draw those radius of 1.25 on the same center line with the edge, the very edge of where the right side view edge is as my center. Center and center. So let's see. I've got a 1 inch radius, and then I've got an inch and a quarter radius, like that. Yep. Okay. These will get trimmed, something like this. All right, so I've got a center line here. I could offset this for kind of the the web that's kind of in between these two ends, right? Yeah. material that spans between those two. So let's see, let me see how wide that is. It's 3/4 of an inch wide. So what I'm gonna do is just take my center line and offset it half a 3/4, half 3/4, 3/8, but you already got your calculator if you need to do that. 0.75 times divided by 2, right? 0.75 divided by 2, 3/8, 0.375. So I'm just gonna offset my center line. That's kind of where that's how wide it looks there, right? And then I think I'll just trace over that. I'll just leave those there as kind of a guide, but this one would go from here over to here. And I do think there's a contour where they meet, and so I think we're going to radius those, maybe. See if that will work. But that's definitely the width between the two. Yeah, I've got these radius features. I'll come back to that in just a minute. I think this is the one that's maybe a little bit tricky to understand how to put that in, and maybe I got to use a little trickery. And then, oh, maybe, I think I'll draw the profile of the slot. It looks like a slot. It's not through. That's actually what that 0.125 is showing, is that it's actually just like a recess that's carved into there. Maybe it thins weight. Why they would do something like that is definitely like to reduce weight. It's what I think of most in a part like this. I'm gonna shell some of that out and remove some material. And yeah, I mean that's the purpose of stuff potentially in this case. I can't think of why else they would do. Anyway, what's going on is this is on both sides. It's kind of like this is symmetrical. I don't know if it should say. I wish it said symmetrical front to back or something, so that we knew that this was this kind of recess was going on. It's just like it's this like slotted profile, but it's like only going in an eighth of an inch, and this thing is a half inch wide. So really, it's just decrease. It's like a web. It's like decreasing weight through this part here. Um, it definitely reduces strength in some ways as well if it was a continuous spar, but the strength is sufficient after the weight reduction has happened. I don't know, just make me think. Okay, and so that slotted feature is this kind of half inch high slot. Its radiuses are maybe not called out, are they? Well, it's half inch. They'd be a half inch, quarter inch radius. Sorry. Yeah. Half inch diameter, quarter inch radius on the ends, and they're really 3 inches apart. So I see the 3 inches here. So 3 inches apart from where those start. You would wonder where that's based off of left to right. That would be a good argument of is the 3 inches based off center? So I feel like there's a couple. I think there's some revisions that the engineers could send us here. The left side part depth there is kind of important, and maybe making sure that this isn't just the only dimension for the whole thing through. That's what can kind of be a little bit confusing is because it's such a separate, like in a way, feature over here. This is being dangerous to use it as my depth, and it would be better if I called this out, just to let somebody know that as I've gone from left to right, it's or right to left, it's the same width. And it's not necessarily dual dimensioning, especially if the features are. I just want to clearly state that they are the same and keep that in. And it's the same way with this slot here. This would be better if they told us if this was shifted slightly to the left or slightly to the right, or if it mattered, or if it's just, if it is just weight reduction, then maybe it doesn't matter, but there would be some symmetry involved in this. I do think this is based off the center, but is it based anyway? I don't think there's any other. Do I have a dimension? I'm looking. I would look for, oh, this. Okay, okay, okay. I can stop my guessing and say the 2 inch here from this right side surface comes down and is part of my the center mark area for my slot. So I'm going to come over 2 inch, then I can go over 3 inch and develop out this slot that's a half inch wide. Yeah, okay, okay. Good, good, good. I haven't done this or haven't done it for a while, so I kind of forget what my dimensions, where they're going to lead me, but 2 inches over. Yeah, so I might just do a little bit of construction work. You could do this however you want, but really what I found is, if I come over here 2 inches, that's kind of the start of And if I just, I don't know, if I just move that, I'm going to offset this 3 inches. So this is kind of how that slot is, and these will be the center marks for the radiuses on the end of that slot, which are 1/4 inch radius slot. So I'll put those in here. 0.25 is the radius, or a 1/2 inch diameter. Maybe I'll just copy that over this base. I'll just draw 2 tangent lines, which in this case, in this orientation, tangent's going to be quadrant to quadrant here. Be argued that I didn't grab that quadrant. There's a quadrant. So like that. Maybe I'll trim this out now. Trim, trim. We have our slots there. Yeah, looks good. I didn't really mean to trim that. Want to move that either. This one. I actually didn't want that to be trimmed like I did. It's okay. I got it, I think. Sorry, I'm gonna put my construction line back in and then make sure I'm just on that. It was 2 inches over and then down. Sorry. This is me just double checking my work. Okay. Yep, I'm happy with that. That's all that's going to look like from the front. We've got some details here to work out though, right? We've got a radius, and some other stuff. Maybe I'll draw this in up here. Let me see. This radius is going to look rectangular in our front view. So what is it? It comes up to the center. Oh, from where I came? Yeah, from this kind of the 12 o'clock and the 6 o'clock position of that. I'm going to come up a 1/4 inch to the whole center here. And then I've got these little holes that'll be hidden in my front view, but at least the overall profile is a 1/4 inch radius on, yeah, so 1/4 inch radius up a 1/4 inch from where my part is, and it's a 1/2 inch over. Okay, so I'm going to draw in these little features. It's just going to look rectangular here. 0.25 and 0.25. So a 1/2 inch up, 1/2 inch over, and then back down. And the 7.5, it comes over. I think this continues straight over from this point here. And so I might draw this first where it drops down and intersects this, and then I'll draw that on. That's another 1/4 inch beyond. I think it's in alignment here. That's a little bit of an assumption on me because I don't think I have a depth, or I don't think I have a width. You can't even see that other flat going on. So this is a part description maybe from our engineering if they didn't want to if they didn't want us to make a call to them and be like, yeah, missing a dimension maybe. Plus, maybe it'd be nice to know that the part is symmetrical along the center line here from top to bottom. Because I'm seeing there's features that are hidden here. So I would like to be told that this is a symmetrical part, and I don't assume that something different is down there. Or just have a quick discussion. Yeah, it's symmetrical. Okay. From front to bottom, or from top to bottom. Yeah. Half by half by half, and then that 3/4. Okay, so this is what I think it's going to look like. Half-inch up from here, 1/2 inch over. That makes sense. That's the top of our, and then I'm going to come down where I intersect just momentarily. I'm going to trim that. What I think we have going on here is we have this line that from here, and I might see this whole line, it's 3/4, right? 0.75, something like this. And then does that come down? Let's see here. No, it doesn't. So let's see how this looks. So technically this would be trimmed here. Yeah, and this is going to look like kind of a uniform surface all back into here, right? This front view surface. So this surface and this surface. I'm actually gonna cut this out here. I couldn't remember if it was the same. So technically this is gonna look like this a little bit, right? That surface is going to connect to this surface, which is going to connect to this surface. So I think this is the trick that I need here. I think I'm going to do some of this detail work and then mirror it over for the bottom, for the bottom half of the front view. And maybe over here too. I mean, I think this one is a simpler like fix here. Like, let me just focus on this other side before I get distracted. I say even I can get distracted and just like jump on and then forget to finish what I'm doing. You just your mind gets into something and you're just like, but I do feel like you gotta just like slow your mind down and be like, just focus on what you were doing and see if you can finish this. And so I'll focus on this side, that. And what you have going on from this point here is some radius, right? Like I've got yeah, so that's my point. That it came out 3/4 from the end. I drew it out there, 3/4 to that end line. And then it's going to pick up a radius of 2-inch radius and blend into my to the this material that spans from end to end. Okay. So it's a 2-inch radius. So I think if you try to this one could be the trick because I don't think you have the ability from a circle command. Tangent radius is it almost needs two surfaces or two where two edges are, and not a point of a line, right? So if I try to do something like a tangent radius, which might be what you think about going to, and this one's easy to get tangent to, it's not going to recognize. And if you thought, well, I'm going to just go tangent here, and then I'll put a radius of it's 2. I don't even think it recognized that as a legit command. So I didn't drop any, it's going to be like, well, tangent, and radius would be 2. It's not doing that because those two lines are parallel. They're not perpendicular with each other, or they're not in, out of a, in some degree, it doesn't have to be perpendicular, but it would need to be some degree different than just parallel. So if you're doing that and you're getting no luck, let me show you my trick here. Essentially, what we know we have in there is a circle that is got a 2-inch radius, right? So something like this is a 2-inch radius circle. Is that what that is? I think it's huge. 4-inch diameter. Yeah, that's correct, right? I guess that makes sense. Kind of a big 2-inch radius. Yes, that's what it says. Okay, I'm just gonna move this. Just off. I just want to be. It's going to come in here somewhere, right? It's going to be like, well, how do I align this here uh, without using parametric constraints, which we'll talk to in another or we'll talk about in another couple weeks. But right now, with the command, with the stuff that I know, I don't know how to place that in there, right? So let's do like a little cheat here. I'm going to move this thing, so I know it's tangent with that. So I can do that. I'm gonna move that again. Select object. Select a point. I'm not going to do it by center line. I'm going to do it by the quadrant here because it's a point on the outside circumference here. So I'm grabbing my circle by this, and I can bring this down now and place it against this thing, anywhere like this. Or I think I can shift select maybe tangent and say I'm going to go tangent. I don't think it likes that. So maybe I'll shift select, oh, anything. I think intersection, I did see it popping up here, or perpendicular. Yeah, so I could drop this anywhere. I could drop it to midpoint. What I want to do is just, since I've got this thing on the outside surface, I want to drop it to my geometry there, somewhere where a grip will show me that I'm truly, grabbing this thing. So the midpoint seems to be popping up pretty easy. It says invalid point, but this is good. Essentially, all I'm doing is at least building one of those relationships. It's tangent to this line, these lines that I've drawn here. My circle is. But then I need to drive it over that way. And so this might be a guessing game if you're trying to move this way and try to stay, try to keep from pulling out this way that I would pull it across. And then maybe you're gonna try to eyeball this and get it close. Well, let me just show you. Here's a little trick method maybe. Maybe I'll just grab a new color so you can see what I'm going to do here. But what I'm going to do is, so this is not necessarily going to be a chain line at all. I'm just going to use this color for myself a minute. I want to know, essentially, what I want to know is I just want the circumference of this to touch the endpoint here. So I'm just going to do this. This is just like some geometry. You can do this kind of stuff all the time too, if you can recognize it and visualize it. You can draw whatever lines you need. I mean, construction is construction, right? So I'm going to do a line from this endpoint, keep it in orthographic alignment. So if you toggle on F8 or do what I'm doing, I'm just pulling along until it meets here. And essentially what that does now is it establishes, a point here that I now have a grip. I now kind of have a grip associated with my circumference, right? So I can kind of use this strategically and say, well, let's move this by that point over to that point. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a move command. I want to move this by this point. See, I wouldn't have had this. Like I just created some geometry to put me a grip that I can move by like, accurately. So I'm going to say, yeah, by this endpoint, where are you going to move it to? I'm going to move it over to here to this endpoint. And what I've done is I've kind of like, I'm still tangent here, and I've just used another, piece of geometry to essentially have a point to grab. And this actually takes me to an alignment here. It looks like I missed there. So that's good. Really, this all gets trimmed out now, right? So now I'm going to trim this. Use my trim here and yep, trim, trim, trim. That one stays. That's what I wanted right there. Um, I might have to think of how this trims for a minute. And I think I'm just going to move this to construction material. So I'm going to say, I just want to show it and have it stand out while I videoed it there, what's going on. That is kind of the profile there. I know I don't have any hidden line work done yet, but I definitely am starting to lock in this profile. That's all now kind of one continuous surface. I think I need to trim this is what I need to do is trim this line here won't exist, right? And even back to here, just because my construction work broke that up. And now I've got a continuous surface into this and then continuing over that way. And I haven't finished this, so maybe I'll do both of these pieces of geometry and just mirror them across my center line here. So on this end, what is it? It's half-inch radius, yes. So I'm going to do a fillet. I don't know if this will work. Let's try it. Fillet radius is what? 0.5 is what the radius. I want to trim this with this. Yeah, that works good. That looks great. Trim that all up for me. Works so good, I don't even need to mirror that one across. I could just say that to that. The same fillet is. And then let me just take a hard look. I think I'm still going to see both these lines because they're actually coming out towards me closer, and and this part is further away from me. So I'm still going to see this hard line. I don't trim that off. This is what I'm seeing right here. I need to know where that point is when I project it to the top, but yeah, that's good. I'm gonna mirror this mirror this over this, this, this. Could have joined all that. It's kind of that option there. That's that idea of if you just join that into one single selection. I mean, it's only four selections here, but this is my mirror line anywhere along here. I don't want to erase anything. And I just need to trim that out. And this one here too. Not like that. I actually want to undo that. It's gonna put that was all under the same trim command. So if I do a Control Z or I do an undo here, I just didn't want my construction material to be trimmed. So there, that's good. So let me just take a look of this without my construction work on. Oh yeah, and I can just see. I need to cap off the end there. When I trim those, they weren't capped off. So it's just essentially this needs to cap off that end. Yeah, that. I think that's what that's going to look like, minus some hidden line work, right? Minus the hole, which I could put in, project it over to the right side view or something. Or I could put it in over there and project it back across. Maybe that's what I'll do and focus on the visible line work. I do think that's pretty close. If I see something different when I keep going, I'll come back and get it. But yeah, let's at least work on the top view of this. I think I will do some projection stuff here now. So top view, it's just that little view there, huh? I'm gonna need to know that point. Essentially, you can kind of tell I'm gonna need to know these intersection points of geometry, right? They kind of tend to carry across. I'm going to see that line. I'm going to see that as a line across there. I'm going to need to carry over these diameters, maybe. There'll be hidden lines. Project this over. Maybe I'll project over the stuff that I think I'm going to need here for this view. It's going to be hidden line here, actually, I think. I'm looking down. Let me start working out some of the shaping there. Is that right? Yeah. Oh, I'll take some of this over too. I've got this one to come over. And this one here. Okay, so that's going to be a diameter here. So I feel like I'll do a little bit of sketching in here. Maybe I'll do one more thing. I think I'm going to draw a center line up on this one too. There's the center line of part up there. I might just use it to offset this kind of the same way I built that here. I think I'm going to do that same thing here. When I get to that point, let me just trace in some of the stuff that I know. Well, maybe not. Maybe I will offset that. So what's the width of that up in the top, or the depth of that in the top view? It's this across here, so it's a half inch. So that center line I just drew, I'm going to offset by a quarter inch and have that this part depth through there in my top view. So let me go back and just do another quick little offset of a quarter inch with this center line that I drew both sides. So that's going to be, yeah, this just helps me trace this around a little bit. This is a cylindrical part in the front view. It's going to look like a rectangle in this top view. So from here to here, clear to the OD of it here, I think like to there. And then I come in. I'm gonna fix this a little bit, but let's just say I'm gonna come into here at least. That's that line of offset. Then it spans over to here, I think, and I might have to change that a little bit where those. And then what I have is another cylindrical part, half a cylindrical feature that is appears as a rectangle. So let's go here, here, all the way across the front. Sorry, right side, and then back on the back side to there, back to the inner material that spans clear over to the OD here, and then here, and back to here. So I've just kind of traced all around the outside edge of that. If I turn this off, I don't think I'm exactly right, but I'll just take a look. It kind of looks like this. I definitely have a bunch of hidden line work to get, and I've got some more details to put in here. I've got some hidden line work to show of those, that material that's been removed that's slot shaped, and an inner bore here. But I need to maybe I need to tend to this. We have what's that term run out, and we're going to learn that that's kind of a term that I'm dealing with here, and I kind of want to establish where the run out of these two shapes intersect each other, really on both sides. I think I need to like pay attention to the run out. And then I don't want you to think of that. I mean, that's not the only term, that's not the only thing that run out's going to mean in our drafting, in our mechanical drafting phase. So that's what run out means to us now. Put it on your back burner to think that run out might have some other terminology that we're going to use when we talk GD&T next semester. So for right now, and when we're constructing geometry, I do need to like attend to the run out here and how where I see the taper out of these two shapes, blending together is kind of what we're calling run out here. So this is kind of what the run out would be. Let me show you what it looks like here. Like this is kind of like has addressed the run out of this shape to that shape. So I'm gonna just project that up, and I'll be able to adjust the shape of my upper piece just a little bit. I think I'll still have what I have. I want to make sure that this edge is the one that actually continues up like that. So let me see what that looks like here. Sorry, up here with my construction layer on. Really, where that actually takes place is right there. Like I'm going to be able to pick up a construction line and go across here, right there. Yes. That's where that line, that's the end point of that line. This is where the run out kind of happens there. And so I think I can stretch this line through and across to that point there, like that. Let me take a look at this. Looks more like that, right? That's that run out happening when I look right down on it. Now let's take a look at this end here too, on the drawing here, on the provided drawing. It's going to come up and actually hit. So I think I just need to draw this in and we'll know how to terminate that over here. So let's go ahead and think about looking down on that. It's going to be this little block here that's going to look also rectangular still. I'm not going to see that as a round surface at all until I either do a right side or some other view here. Um, so let's do that. This little thing is only a half inch. The width of it is a half inch wide off of center. And so let's do that. And this one comes out 3. So I should have that all projected up, right? A little bit of a mess to make sense of, but I can get it. It's this half inch over, right? Yes, half inch over. It's a half inch wide here. I think I'm going to see that like this little square on top. And then I'm going to see, technically, I might just pull this to the next, just this little piece to the next over here. That's that 3/4. That's where that ends right there, right? If I project that up, this little surface kind of continues on like that. And then this one is going to meet that one. I think this is going to look like this. I think if I just pull this all the way over to that, what do we look like when we turn that off? Looks like that. I think that's correct. This would all just look like it keeps continuing up and to that point, and then I would see that little surface for a minute, and I would see a hard line there like I have. I'm going to see a hard line here too. So one thing I'm going to add, let me turn back on my construction layer. I'm going to see where that radius kind of terminates, where the two come together. So this point right here, this is going to look like a line across my top view, right? From here to here. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's the surface that I'm looking at here. If I'm looking top down at this surface, yes. It just look like it's just its own little rectangle like that. This is actually, cylinder shape or radius at me. It looks like it's a rectangle. Man, that's pretty close. Now I just have my details that are hidden to do. So maybe I'll focus on the details down here that are hidden. I think I have some of that stuff projected up. I just pay attention. Let me see. I'll go to my hidden layer. This is going to appear as a hidden line across from front to back, right? This one right here is going to look like a hidden line front to back. I do have hidden line work through the holes it'll go through, but maybe I'll bring those up from that other view. And then anything else hidden here that's visible that aligns? I don't think just that one. That one plus the through holes, the way I'm not being able to draw them in. I could draw them in. I could even draw them in here, but I think I'll just wait to project them. And then I've got hidden line work on the other end for the inner bore, which I think I only did half of its projection. So I'm looking at this far end now from here across. This is the inner bore. Of course, I'll have to probably dimension the inner bore here where it appears as a circle because it's a hidden line work up here. But up here, I'll be able to dimension the outer diameter of the end here. Not with the diameter symbol here, but with a linear dimension with a diameter symbol in front of it. So now let's do that hidden line work from here to here. Repeat that. Make sure that might have been the run out. Yep, I'm going to make sure it's this middle line, which is the inner bore through. So let's just take a look now. It's the inner bore going through. That's really the only details we have down there. We've addressed the run out. We've got the inner bore over here. Got the run out blending in with my top view surfaces that I can see. That's the inner bore of that going through. Yeah, I think I would draw this as a hidden line. Um, You're gonna see, yeah. So all I'm thinking is you're gonna see a hidden line like this, right? That would be this feature here, the very point of that would continue. I can see it for a second, and then it could argue that I don't see that because it's not a separate piece and that it actually is uniform. That's got me thinking a little bit. I mean, I might delete that, and I don't think I have that. I think it's going to be blended uniform surface there, and not okay. I think so, like that. Yeah. Now let's do this. Turn back on my construction layer. I'm going to project over my slot feature here, right? This is how far. I'll just project it all the way across. That's how far it's going to span. And then it's only going to be, it'll all be hidden. It'll be 1/8 of an inch in from there. So I might do another offset that is just that it's only 1/8 of an inch. And I think I'm going to offset this. Inch there. Bear with me a minute. I'm just going to turn this off and look. Yeah, go ahead and turn that off for a minute. That is that. Let me trace one more thing with hidden line work from the construction layer. It's, sorry, it is that. I just want to know how far over this is, like there. From here, it goes in. From here, this comes in. Do that on both sides, or I could have mirrored that across. From here, it goes in. Here it goes in. Do a quick match properties because that's kind of confusing to see that and that, but this is what I want to change there. Oh, wrong one, that one. Let me undo that. Do my match properties here. This is the one that and this one. Yeah, and I'm going to trim this to fit if I get rid of that construction layer. Trim here, right? That was extra line. That's kind of like overdraw there. That is what the slot would look like. I know it's going to have some center marks on it. We'll come back to center lines. But I think that might be everything that I see there. Yeah. So then what I want to show here is that this might influence how I draw my next part. And I mean I have some for the assignment I did up. I'm going to change this out once I get my new drawing done, but I'm yeah, I think I'm getting pretty close. That one did I draw? I drew that one across. Is that correct? I don't think so. I think it's just it's funny when I zoom in on this and I think of what might be different is I did draw that all the way across, but I do feel like it's the same way. You saw me draw that in this time and then remove it, and I didn't draw that in here because I feel like it is kind of this uniform part. It doesn't really travel through this. I mean, that's not easily understood, I guess. If I could think of, well, why is that? Yeah. It's because it's almost like a cast part is why. So it's not like two separate parts, but it's either cast or it's been machined from scratch or something. But some of these things, and I think of automotive parts being cast, they've actually built forms and cast these parts with this profiles. But so they're not separate parts. It's a uniform part, and then so where this cylindrical feature. It seems like it inserts through that. It doesn't, it really, so I don't draw a hidden line here. And I shouldn't have it here, I don't think either. I think I'd follow the same. So I feel like this is kind of an error in my part. And I didn't draw it on my other one. So I think the way I've got it right now is better. And of course, I'll come back and do center lines. But what was I going to say? Oh, I just want to analyze that I ended up taking a section view. And the reason why, instead of just doing a total right side view, I did a section so that I could detail that the stuff with the hidden lines we just drew in the top view. That's how that is recessed in. I really can't dimension it. I think there's more ways than just doing a section. A section's going to be, I think it's a good view. It kind of falls into where we're at in our learning phase here, and we've been doing quite a bit of sectioning or some, and so I mean, you could argue that I could detail the dimensions of this, like the three and the radius of those, and that might be sufficient. 2 inches off. So I've got kind of got it located from the right side surface here. Um, and I could maybe call out that that feature is a hat. I could do like a local note and say this thing is an eighth of an inch recessed or something, right? That would be a legit way without, and then I could just do a right side view and not have to address the dimensioning of what is going on there with that recess. So, because that's what's going on here is I've cut through here so that I can expose visible lines instead of hidden lines. I wouldn't want to dimension up here because that's hidden line work, so I don't want to dimension. But I wouldn't be surprised if, in some world somebody just called that out with a local note and said that it's a half inch recess or an eighth of an inch recess, 0.125. So I'm gonna go ahead and proceed like this with a section view though, and just be able to detail it like we've been doing, and expose what you can't dimension with sectioning is a good practice to get into. So while everything else is kind of like the right side view, I can do a lot of project. I can build it over there in my same view, and then kind of address that it's actually a section view, and then build. So I'm going to build it like it's a right side view, but I'm actually thinking of it as a section view in some ways. Yeah, let's do that. So there's my view plane, which is even if it was at section, it would kind of be constructed similar. Just like I just got to watch hidden lines versus visible lines and stuff. And then technically I could section this and look the other way if that's all I was exposing to. The problem with doing that is I wouldn't pick up any way to detail the holes and the other information that I pick up in either a right side view or a section that is directed, uh, looking from left to right to pick up that. So I think I'm going to go with how I did it before. I do like how that exposed things. So let's go ahead and do some projection crossed here. Kind of some of the main features is what I'm projecting first. Like I think I'm going to see this. It's going to become probably a hidden view. I don't know how to think about this. Project this across. I don't know if these are in total alignment here. I think they might be, but I have to let me just do a quick measurement there. Because this is a half inch, right? Yeah, they are in alignment. Sorry, I knew that. Okay, when I drew that, they are in alignment. So that really that projection works for this particular thing too. Okay, so maybe I'll project down the other stuff in the front view, top view, I mean. Like this width here is something I want to know. Top down, and maybe down and through, right? This one here. That gets radius right there. So I might want to know the center of that or something, offset that. Might help me to make sense of that shape if I just start that radius and draw it in, right? So um this piece I did, it does have a center line because I made my, when I projected across, I snapped and snapped. So I've actually got this where I have a center mark on it. But if you didn't have one, what I'm looking for is maybe to draw this and draw this. And so I'm just going to come down from top a quarter of an inch because that's a quarter inch radius. So I'm not thinking of that quarter inch. I'm thinking from the top down as a quarter inch to there, and then it's another quarter inch. So, and I'm going to need to do like a 1/4 inch diameter on those center lines and a 1/4 inch radius. Okay. I'm going to draw that in. What I've got a center C mark here that I can pull down and say, well, the centers of those are, they start at a 1/4 inch down. If you don't have a center mark there, what I'm looking for is just a center line between here and here. And I'm going to something. The inner one is a 1/4 inch diameter, so that's a 0.125 radius. Half of a quarter is 1/8 of an inch, an eighth of an inch is 0.125. And then from there, this is a 1/2 inch radius, right? Like that. So that's kind of what that looks like, other than I need to just kind of trace over here. From there, it would come up to the quadrant, like that. From here, it would come up to the quadrant. I'm kind of looking for the actual quadrant snap or something. I think they're all in it. There it is. That's good. And this would trim out. I wouldn't see this. That's kind of what the top would look like, right? And if I just try to think about capping this off, this line will look like a straight line all the way across. Let me come look. Actually, it won't. It'll come across and it'll meet that surface. So I want to make sure that I draw this as kind of this like nice, all one connected surface with no visible lines breaking it up. So let me see if I can piece that together. And then maybe I can just mirror that across is what I'm thinking about, mirroring it to the bottom side. So yeah, from there, I'll just get on my visible line. And I think from here, it comes out to the very far and across, and it comes over to the inner bore that I would see like this, right? So if I turn that off real quick, yes, it looks like all one surface. That one's a lot of little, maybe I'll just join this real quick, that to that to that. Can always explode it later if I decided I shouldn't have joined it, but this is a lot of pieces, right, to select. I could have selected that and then just hit mirror, but if I join them, what do I have? A single selection? Yes, it means everything's coming together. Remember, if you can't join, it means you got to break in some edge to edge, point to point. Something didn't quite line up. You kind of have to chase that. The way I chase that is I might go back into join and select a few and then see if those will join, select a few more, see if those will join, and try to find where the break point is. I kind of just hunt it because really it could be really hard to like zoom in and see where those intersections of something need to get trimmed right, or if you just selected the wrong point, the wrong grip or something. But I'm going to mirror these across now. I think this and this. I'm gonna mirror them across the center line, which I have center lines here. I could just say it over here though. I don't want to erase anything. Yeah. That's kind of what that looks like. And then I think I'm gonna draw these should really connect together here, right? Like that looks like this. The overall width I will kind of see as a visible line. The overall depth, that is depth, but don't say what I mean what I say. Something. Let me take a look. I know there's hidden line work that I'm gonna need to see. And then I'm also just kind of viewing that I'm looking, like I'm gonna change some of this probably. I probably am gonna explode that because I gotta remember I'm not looking at a right side view that I'm also looking at. So I shouldn't, I'm gonna have to break it up. It is gonna be those profile, that feature, but I'm gonna have to consider what is hidden when I'm looking, and I should have established where I'm looking from. So let me quickly at least do that on my plane layer and at least build myself. And um, technically, what I'm really looking to expose is just what's going on in here to dimension. And so, yes, I can come clear over here to center and do that. Or I've talked about this before. Uh, um, it's really non-critical where you take your section. Sometimes I move my section closer to where the information that I'm looking to, the reason why I'm taking my section. And so I usually position my cutting plane in a close proximity to that. What that means is I'm really looking to expose what is going on in here. And then I'm also going to additionally capture some dimensionable stuff from these. You know, some of this is going to be dimensionable because it's going to be visible line. Nothing's going to block it even from my section view. And so I can't take this straight up center. It wouldn't really matter. Like I can totally section right through here. Here's the center. It's whatever. This is the center. There's a midpoint of a line. Like I could absolutely just say I'm looking from here to here, and then I'm going to twist back this way, some distance. Sometimes it's It's not really critical. I looked it up in the book. I don't think they actually spit out what that dimension is. I think a few times I've tucked mine in a little closer, maybe a quarter of an inch. I'm going to put my arrow on there, which I think I'm going to have to rebuild, or I can go grab it from a drawing. I'll have to show you how to do that. That'll be good. I don't have to rebuild it. It it's probably on mine as a block. It might not be in on yours because it just doesn't retain your recent blocks like it will in real if you're not getting wiped every night. But um I was going to show you another thing. Usually I draw these as polylines. It doesn't have to be though. It's just that it doesn't have to be, other than it's just that I make my arrow with a polyline. And so if this was just a line, that's okay. I kind of in the habit of making it a polyline. What was I going to show? Maybe that I can push this to a polyline. This is me double clicking on that. So if you double click, it brings up this quick property. You know, this quick property is something that's a little bit annoying. It's on your status bar, and there's a quick property, and it looks like this. I'm way down here low on my status bar. That's quick properties. Slightly looks like a calculator there too or something, but that image is used, I feel like, all over the menu to know what the heck it is. A little calculator looking icon. If you turn that on when you do select stuff, that quick property is always coming on. I think early on when I was drawing, I said I like to know it every once in a while, but I also don't. It kind of annoys me. It gets in my way sometimes when I'm just clicking. You can get to it if you double click though. This will show what kind of like line it is. I was gonna say, is it by? I thought it was gonna tell me. Oh yeah, right here is a drop down line, and then I think I can convert this to a polyline. Hmm. I don't know why I wanted to show you this, but it was coming to my mind. I thought I could convert that to a polyline. Maybe it's a polyline I can convert to a line. It also comes up on my normal properties. Maybe I can't convert it to a polyline. Doesn't really matter to, on that per se. I think I've drawn those as a half inch long before. What it comes down to is I kind of take a look at how big of the object I'm drawing is, and I just want to make sure I can visually show that those arrows when I put them on, they're turning that direction. So, you know, and it seems like it varies a little bit in our book when I look through there. I see some that look longer and shorter than others, but yeah, a quarter inch to a half inch. If it's a really big drawing, maybe I have to make those a little longer so I can clearly see turning off that line and putting on the arrows. I just want to be able to visually see that turn in my finished drawing with arrows on it, right? So I can come back and adjust that at a later date. And this would be fine. This would be a fine place to take that. What I just want to really like reinforce is that when you take cutting plane lines, they don't have to be necessarily symmetrical or down the middle. A lot of the times they're just closer to where I want to show. So it also wouldn't be wrong for me. Maybe I'll just join those so they're all one selection. Well, a polyline would have done that for me if I would have drawn it with a polyline. It would have already been connected. So, but so in this case, I'm just moving this maybe closer to where I'm really wanting to take. And the reason why I would move this a little bit closer is because yes, I want to section through here, but I'm really looking to actually still detail this stuff in that view. And so I might, and this is just me. And I've seen other drafters kind of work this way. You just take your sections, and I'm just looking for a grip here, closer to where the information is that you're looking. So I wouldn't want to be in here because I'm into the radius of this stuff, which is one part of why I'm sectioning. So I don't want to come clear over here. I want to stay in the straight areas of this slot so I can detail it. But it doesn't necessarily have to be in center of slot. I could come this way, and what I'm doing is I'm just moving closer to this other data that I'm going to detail in my section view. And so I'm just saying, well, I'm just going to be moving my section closer to actually what I'm detailing and sectioning in my actual section view. So if I cut this through right here, I'm still going to see the same, you know, I'm definitely maybe I'm getting close to that. I wouldn't want to be into this technical area here. It would make me, so I am going to be a little bit careful not to do it where I did it because there is this breakaway point of this, and I want to be probably on the other side of that endpoint where everything is just kind of like perpendicular as I cut through it. I don't pick up some radius like I just did. So if anything I'm going to watch is like this, it's gonna affect my section view a little bit. I'm gonna have to watch those details. I'm going to make that a little easier for myself in the section view. If I just take this thing, I'm going to move it again by this center and away from that this endpoint here, which I think it's there. So I'm just going to come out here, a little ways, and avoid that endpoint. But still, I'm closer than clear over. I reiterate that it doesn't really matter on such a small part like this, but on a really big part, I definitely position my cutting work closer to what I'm actually cutting, making sure that I'm still exposing what I need to expose, but not over. Yeah, just not, I wouldn't want this section view to be, if this was really long, to be clear over here, looking that way. It makes, I think it just makes the viewer, compacts the viewer's vision here to be like, there's my section, there it is, there's my section view over here. Everything's kind of like, in my eyesight when I'm looking right there. I don't know. So I'm going to section mine right there. Now I'm going to that just helps me kind of consider that what I'm looking at over here is a section view. So as I project more work over, and I may almost not quite finish this and come back to a part two of this where I may not even finish this. I have to exit my classroom today and get out to let some other people use it. But um, what I'm going to pick up here a little bit is some of that's going to become hidden. Now I'm just trying to visual. It helps me visualize when I put something in, I can say, oh, now I'm looking that way. Okay, what am I seeing? Well, I'm going to see some of this. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing it. I'm going to see this. I'm actually going to see this surface right here, right? Like that is going to come across here, look like this. And this surface here too. I'm just picking up where it would be like kind of tangent. It's about where that endpoint is coming across. I guess I already had kind of that. I could have extended that through. I'm double drawing my construction line, so that's okay. Here we go. Okay, now maybe I'll consider what this profile looks like when I'm in here. What I've got some data that I can pull from the top as well, how thick those are right here. They're going to come along here. And I could have done this as another. I don't need to take it all the way across. I just will. It's easier for me to snap sometimes. Right here. So here I should be able to kind of see the eye nature shape of that when it gets cut through. So what would I have here? I'm gonna have some hidden, I'm gonna have some visible line work. Yeah. So really this little I'm just gonna do a quick little rectangle here that I'm gonna trim up. Drawing that in. I'm looking at it pretty hard here. So it's kind of, if that thing was solid, it would look like that. If that thing didn't have the notching in it or the slot uh reduced by that slot shape, it would look like this coming across there, right? If I had sectioned through and looking, I'd kind of see all this. This would become chopped a little bit. I would see, I got to chop this line on the bottom. I'm gonna have to explode this. So I'm gonna explode this, I'm gonna explode again, or just hit enter, explode that one. Now I've got these as individual lines because this one is going to kind of be segmented. It's going to be some visible and then some hidden. Yeah, the inner bore that comes across there. And I've got to kind of now consider what this shape looks like with this. It's going to look like kind of like an eye. Um, it's going to come into the middle, and then come back out. And I'm going to trim out this. If it was just square, it would look like this. Plus, I've got to make some. I'm almost there. So let me come back on with my construction layer. Jump over to it. Maybe I'll jump over to a visible line. It's going to look like this. I've just got to trim this up. That's why I kind of did this grid pattern from here to here to here to here. And then from here to here to here and back out, right? And I'm going to trim this and this. take a look at that. Kind of what the shape of that looks like, right? These should be, I mean, this is a 1/2 inch across, yes. This is a 1/2 inch across here, yes. These go in 1/8 of an inch, yes. Check both sides here, yes. And so that's what that would look like at section. And then that's actually material that I would section. So it's a good candidate for saying it's section material. We don't know what the material is. It wasn't provided for us in any details. So I'm just going to use the general ANSI 31 general purpose hatching right here. I want to make it annotative so that it will scale for me. I'm going to close that. So it's actually the material that I've sectioned there. So that's kind of cool. That's where my cut is. That is the surface that is like my eyeballs are right up against there, right? That's totally perpendicular to my eyeball surface, and it looks like an eye just by the dimensions I was given. That recess or that weight reduction type of a feature there. And then I just need to worry about that hidden line work. And anything else that I would see, I kind of have to pay attention. This surface is just going to appear as an edge. I feel like I haven't drawn that in yet. It should stay in line with this and draw up to there, right? So I think I should have like a visible line. I'm not tracing over. I'm just going to draw a perpendicular line. This should look like it continues up to there. Yes. And this should look like it continues up to here. That's that radius surface coming up to that edge, right? So I can actually draw this without even the grid on, but draw that up to there. So those two radiuses coming up to that point, I can kind of visualize that, and then that surface will also continue to appear as a line here. I don't think that is, I think I need to trim this out here, right? Like I think technically I got to go up higher with that up to there, right? If I do this wrong, I'll fix it a little bit here. Goes up to there. Yes, that looks more correct. But what we've got to do here, this is the inner bore line is what I got to remember. So here's one thing that I don't think I've used on camera at all, but maybe I've talked about it. There's this next to my join command on my expandable modify palette. And it's going to have a keyboard command as well with it, break at a point. I'm not going to use the break at a point with the space. It's going to create a space between wherever I break it. But I'm going to use this break at a point. It's because I'm going to make, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to segment this line so that I can use it as visible line and then I can use it as hidden line work. I mean, I could just delete it and draw it like that, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to use what I've got. I've got geometry to work with here. I'm going to break at a point. This is the object I want to break at a point. Here's the point I want to break it at. And now what I actually have is like two pieces of line. I'm going to do that again, break at a point right here, break at a point. This and there. I've got three pieces. And this one's going to become a hidden line. Not a dimension line, a hidden line. Like that. Maybe I could just delete this one and pick that up, mirror that across. I don't have to work with everything I have. Let me mirror that across. Oh, dang it. I don't know. I like squint my eyes to see if it makes more sense. So my face is looking funny, probably. Let's see. Anything else that I'm missing here? Center marks, of course, through everything. Yeah, that's what I like to do. And then you always have that reference sheet. Always challenge yourself to like work with it as much as you can. Try to make sense out of it before you just sort of like having it up on the other screen. Like I don't have my other one up on my other screen, the other drawing that's actually done. I'm challenging myself to try to think through this. And then you always have a cheat sheet here where you can just like pull this up and be like, oh, do I have it right? Yeah. And that one, I guess, is, I don't know. What have I done differently here? I'm looking, I got to analyze if I've done. See, I can see there's some differences. So now I'm going to zoom in here and see if I'm seeing it differently this time. Let's see. See if I can tell what's wrong here. If I'm looking that way, I definitely would see that line all the way across. Yes, because it would stick out. This is the radius coming up to that point. This one is shown as a total hidden line. Oh, so maybe I've broken that up incorrectly. Is that right? Yeah, maybe I've broken that up incorrectly. I was thinking of the top surface. So, is that right? I think so. I think let me check, let's see what I did. I think I overthought that a little bit. And I would see this line come clear across. Maybe I'll delete one of these. I do agree. Oh, that is all one line. It's kind of funny. Even though it broke. Like a cross like that, that's this. It actually lines up with the outer diameter, so it would look like it comes all the way across. And then this one, yeah, I get. Maybe I was overthinking that, thinking I was going to see that. So that, this is what happens though. Pull those back across. So the hidden, that makes sense. The inner bore is totally just a continuous line across. I wouldn't see it ever. This edge right here would just be hidden from my view completely because the outer one is what I would actually see. So, well, that was a cool thought. At least it showed you how to break at a point. That's a good command to know. There is going to be times when I use it. I promise. I feel like both times I've tried to use it, it's not been what I wanted. But and then, oh yeah, just piece this back together and take those up to that. I don't think I ever fixed that from when I like that. That seemed more correct. I understand that now. Yes, that does seem right. Gosh dang though. Just funny how a half inch tall, that's what I want, right? I would see that surface. I'm acting like I'm looking left to right here. I would see that surface and that. Pick up that. So if I'm looking there, I would see it where it all lines up there. Then I see this, and then I see that, and then I see that. Okay. That's why I have a continuous line all the way across it. That one is a truly hidden line all the way through. Yes, I agree with that. That looks correct now. Yeah, yeah. I fixed it. We got it. We need some center marks. If I can finish doing the line types here at least, then I can do a part two on dimensioning. This one here also is a nice one to put a center mark on. I'll go ahead and extend those. These eventually might pull together. I'll do that once. I'll just put my center marks on it. Where they end up with dimensions, I'll definitely address in part two. And when I go to do the annotations with the arrow, I might show how to pull that out of another drawing that you have. It should be a block in another drawing, unless it was. I don't know if we've done an inch. I'll have to go back and look before I start my part two, and just make sure that I'm gonna do this one. And that's kind of what it does if you have different length center lines. But I'll have to make sure if we've done a arrow in both templates. I don't want to bring in like a metric arrow from a metric template. I want to bring it in from a standard one that we've done. Center mark. Probably going to use this one. I'm going to tuck that in pretty clean. Um, how this one does, we've done this a few times, and maybe I've corrected a few people. I'm still going to tuck this one back in. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let it have its extension. I'm going to line up that one, this hot grip with that. If it'll even let me. I'm going to just say 0. It doesn't want to do 0 here. Won't let me be 0. I think I can do 0 extension though. And then pull this out 0.25 like that. And then I'm going to say on the left, the right extension is 0, like that. Just use that like that. So I'm going to let overlap. The left extension, I want it to be 0.25 at this point, unless I dimension and do some, I might pull those in alignment. So I show that axial alignment through part. And then here, I think I showed you that I'm going to tuck this in. That is 1 inch out. That's funny. That's part of the, I'm going to tuck this in a 16th from there. That's 0.9375. That's 15/16. It's actually 1 inch overall. So I'm just tucking that in, and I'm going to get rid of my bottom extension to 0, actually. So I'm going to break that away just a little bit like that. This is just, we've done this a few times. It's kind of standard. Maybe a nice clean look so I don't get any overlap like that. Tuck it in. That's 1 inch overall. So I'm subtracting a 16th. 9375 is 15/16. That's kind of the standards. And then the top extension, I'll go to 0. So this, if I don't ever need to pull those to a dimension, which I might have to adjust that, that's kind of how that would finish unless I'm pulling to a dimension. And I do feel like I'm actually going to pull these together, probably at center of part somewhere, center of something, like let's just say center of that slot. I feel like I'm going to have these overlap. Then I'm not going to have to add. I mean, the argument could be I don't need to add center marks to that slot now. I could actually just add, like go to my lines and add the center line right here, right? Because I'm using, so this will just be 0.25 past there. I mean, I could tuck this down. Really what this is the slot right here, right? So I could say that this is, I'm only going to pull this 0.25 from there. That's probably a little bit better. But it's really this, it's the slotted features center mark. And so maybe I'll just consider it does extend through it. So maybe I'll just copy that over. Copy, use that piece. There we go. Front view center marks. I shouldn't have done some and then left. I get a little bit, yeah, I get a little jumpy around too. There's still more. Oh, I need to do some hidden line work. So I haven't totally taken care of all my hidden line work either, which is on my grid. So I'm just thinking, well, I wanted to finish the center marks here, but I don't have this. I don't have my hidden line work done there. So let's go back to my grid for a minute and go back to I probably have projected. I haven't even projected it yet, so I'll go ahead and do that. It's just the through hole here, right? Like that. And here. And then those are hidden lines. That through hole. And I'll be able to make a center mark off of those. Maybe I'll just do that real quick and then I'll just mirror everything over. So center mark, center line, sorry, center line in between those two. Make sure I'm just going to take care of how big it is right now. 1/4 inch extensions. I got that wrong. I'll type this in again. There we go. Now I'm just going to mirror this, and this through this part. Like that. I think that kind of finishes at least my center marks until they get pulled to dimensions through there. Those have a need to go up above. I think I technically kind of have them. I don't know if I remember pulling that around or if they just match the other. There must be some other geometry that matches that. I don't remember, but I do think I have that is where I would also draw some hidden lines up here. My top view is missing some hidden lines, so I guess I'm thinking about those little holes that are through right here. They're only a 1/2 inch through that part like that. You turn off the grid now so you can see what we're doing. Right there is the hidden, and I can add the center marks now. Before I move on, let me just address if I've done all the center. There's one more center mark I want in this right side view. This is a cylindrical part, radius to it. So I'm going to draw a center line across it, right? So I probably have, let me go to my center line layer again. And I probably have a midpoint here. Yes. Essentially, I want this center line through here. And then I want them to extend like that. Yeah. And then I think just because of this part and maybe showing the vertical symmetry, I think I'm going to draw these through. There's times when I do that, and there's times when I don't. I think I'm just going to show some vertical and horizontal alignment through part, these axes that are in alignment. I like this. I think, I don't know if I did that on the other one. I'm kind of going to check my cheat sheet here now. I didn't pull them through, so it's arguable. Do I need them? No. I mean, like, this isn't wrong. I'm going to show that alignment, especially if I don't know where I dimensioned those at, this space here. So it's not as critical. So it's not necessarily totally required. It's just funny as I'm seeing it through this time. I'm like, yeah, I want to show that alignment. So I decided to pull them through, right? And this one's going to have a center line right on the end of it like this. I don't want it to be the prioritize. I want to move it to back. Um, the visible line in a plotting or printing scenario, or even in your PDF scenario, is going to really push the visible line as a more, as a heavier line weight. I still I like the idea of, doing your good work here and send that to back. Then my visible line's on top. Um, that just shows that that is a radius feature, and that's the center of that radius feature. And then I also need these ones. What is it? A center line? I know these people are going to be showing up anytime, so I'm just hoping I can finish my lines at least. And I could just match properties of another one that's already established, but that one, and then I'll worry about if I've got total alignment and that one. And then I really would have where those um, I might do this just briefly, real quick on the construction layer. It's getting to be a mess, but I don't think I ever pulled. That's the center of that. Technically, I could pull this through and have a place to know where my center mark is in my top view, right? Because I use those to establish that. I just never did project that over. I use it to establish it in the front view and never used it in the top view yet till now. But that's where I've got a center line going right here, right? Just through this part. And of course, I've got to extend these, not out of alignment, hopefully. It ends up being, that's a 1/4 inch away right there, right? So I can actually snap to that and then it'll look fine. Maybe I'll just copy that over, mirror that over, or copy it. Sure, copy, mirror, either or. Copy from here, from there. Where's that center line? This one. Zoom in here, right there, right? Now I'll turn this off. Something kind of like that. I know that these are shown over the top, and I could send them to back, but this is a way less of a interference than I have in this. That's why I really sent that one to back, is because I don't like it sitting on top, just visually looking at my drawing, knowing that it'll still plot just fine. I don't spend the time to do this where there's that going on there. I'll just rely on my plotter to take care of that. There could be somebody that does like real particular work might send that to back there, but that's that's getting real particular. I'm not going to be that particular. Let's see, is that it? I think so. I'll take one last look at my little cheat sheet and call this one. I did pull that one through, so I'm happy with that. That's got a crosshair on the back. One, two, three, and then that one vertical line that way. And yeah, I got that one in too. Good. And yeah, I think this is a good place to call part one. And maybe I'll catch part two tomorrow during doing the dimensioning. But it's going to be close to this. I can't say I'm totally wrong. I just might analyze like control points, control holds, datums, and just decide if I've got these off of too many datums, if I can tuck that in a little better and cleaner. I don't know. We'll see. Like it's clean. It looks good. The dimension layout is good on this one from last year. I just want to make sure that I'm not, I'm going to analyze the datums a little bit, do some annotations, make sure you get your section headings on, make sure you get an annotative type arrow. I'll create that again in the next one. I'll look through my drawings and see if I have one. If I don't, I'll just create another one on the next video. So see ya in part two of this for sure.